My name is Tyler, owner of Triumph Studio here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this is episode 3 of the Triumph Fuel and Fire podcast, where we focus on all kinds of different aspects of what fuels our fire from within. That can be nutrition, that's mindset, it's all the different things that encompass what it is that drives us forward. And we are super excited to have Zack, who is on tour right now, and he's joined us. He has taught his first 2 classes. We got one more coming up tomorrow. So I'll let Zack explain a little bit about who he is and why he does what he does. But we are thrilled to have him here in the studio with us. So thank you for stopping here on the tour, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for having me again for the second year.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's been really incredible to meet people like yourself and be in these spaces and see what's going on locally.
Yeah.
Like you said, thank you for the intro. And yeah, Zack, known by Zaxfit.
How did Zaxfit become a thing?
It's actually really interesting. I grew up in Texas, originally from the Dallas area, and then I moved to Austin, and there was this restaurant called Zack's in Austin, and I used to play beach like volleyball. There was like a sand volleyball pit there, and there was this moment where in this time I felt like everyone was getting personalized license plates.
Yep.
And so I have a license plate that says Zack's, Z-A-X. Because I was like, oh, I like that restaurant, and I'm here all the time, and I looked it up, and I got that as a personalized license plate. So this was like in 2006. And then as I started really realizing I wanted to break into the fitness industry more, I kind of was like thinking, what is my like brand name? And so I just started kind of really going by Zaxfit.
It's interesting that you were already thinking of a personal brand.
Yeah.
Like that early on.
2006, I was 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm 37 now.
Man, it goes quick, don't it?
It does go so fast.
I'm going to be 45 next month. This month. Wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
April 1st.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah, no, so that's how I came up with Zaxfit. So yeah, I originally started as Zack's, and then I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like a great tagline of this.
And it has carried through all this
time.
time.
And I remember the time when I first did it, I was like, will this last that long?
Would you have ever imagined at 37 it would still be your calling card?
I wouldn't think that. And I think most people actually will call me Zax. Sometimes people don't even realize my name is actually Zack. And so I didn't really think about that at all. So I still don't even really think about that. When people are like Zaxfit, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we tag on Instagram.
That's true, yeah.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think about it as that way. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm Zaxfit.
So did you know then, like when you had mentioned 18 years old playing beach volleyball, sand volleyball and all that stuff, that you would end up traveling the world, traveling all over, doing any kind of consulting, doing half the stuff that you do now?
No, I didn't even have a dream of what was really going to happen later of like moving to New York City. Like that was never a plan of mine. That was never something that I was like, my dream is to be in New York City. That was never an imagination that I would think of. And I was already going to Florida a lot, down to Miami. And I met some people there that lived in New York. And so started dating somebody. And this is like fast forwarding into like the end of 2009. And 2010 came around and my lease on my apartment in Austin was up. And this person was like, why don't you move to New York City? And I was like, I've never had a dream.
Never.
Yeah. Like, I was
what did you think
okay.
you wanted to do when you were
I wanted
younger?
to be a dentist.
Really?
Yeah. I really, like, that's why I moved from Dallas to Austin, going to school. I actually just went one semester to school, like my first 4 years.
And realized this isn't my
Realized
thing?
it's not my life. And I was like, there's more that I want to be able to do with myself. So I never finished college. And so I was like, what else can I do? And then that's when I got into really teaching classes, started at the YMCA. I feel like many people that's been in this industry for a long time understand, the days of the YMCA, working at 24 Hour Fitness. Those are my like...
My very first job was at a similar local brand.
Yeah. It's like you start there and you don't really know what you're doing, kind of just thrown into it.
Yes.
And you're just like, and do this, and maybe do some push-ups, I don't know.
I was trying to figure my life out.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be, actually I went and solicited because I started out as a Beachbody coach. Because I used P90X and Shakeology, won the Beachbody Challenge 2012. So I started running local events and I ended up taking a flyer to a big corporation here
Okay.
to try and get people on board.
Yeah.
And I got a call from a guy who owned a local gym and basically said, "Hey, you're pissing in my territory. What are you doing? Like, one of my guys brought me your flyer. Why don't you just come talk to me?"
Yeah.
And he offered me a job, and
Oh my God.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. P90X. Oh my God, I remember those days. That's like the Tybo Crunch days.
Similar,
Sean
right
T.
after. It was Tony Horton
Yes.
and Sean T were the two that they taught me so much.
Yeah, I remember those
Like,
days.
because I was so self-conscious because I was 100 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And for a guy, I carried a lot in my chest.
Totally.
So if I wasn't going to jump in front of anybody.
Totally.
Which is why a little 8x8 spot
Yeah.
in my basement, dingy,
Yeah.
nasty, but it's a long story. But
Totally. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, in Austin, like I started racing in triathlons, got into the whole triathlon world, and really just kind of was like, well, is there something I can do within this? And I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And like I said, I was working at 24 Hour Fitness at the time as well in Austin. And when I moved to New York City, they used to have a 24 Hour Fitness. And so when I moved there, connected, it was like, can I kind of like transfer here? And so made that happen. And that was the early days of me moving to New York City. I think it was like 22. Yeah, I was like 22 when I moved to New York.
wow.
Just moving to
That's
the
probably
city.
terrifying.
It was terrifying, amazing, because the person I moved there for, we lasted 3 weeks.
Really? After you
Don't
got
ever
there.
move for anybody.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Don't ever move for anybody. Make them move for you. But yeah, it lasted 3 weeks, and I was like, what is this? What is my life? What's happening? And I literally moved there. I had a dog, and I had like my 2 suitcases, and I drove to New York. And so I had
From
my
Miami?
car there from Austin.
Oh, wow.
And so the guy I moved for, he's like, yeah, bring your car and we can have the car. And then I was like, and mind you, people that don't know New York City, parking garages start at like $600 a month for a car. And so I was like, as long as you pay that, like fine. Because where I grew up, I was like, that's your rent for your apartment.
Yeah.
With free parking.
Right.
So yeah, and then it lasted 3 weeks once I got there, and I just remember walking down the hall being like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And I was like, I might just go down to Florida. Because at the time, my mom was living in Florida. I think she was in Florida by then. But, and I was just kind of like, where should I go? Because I knew Florida really well. And it's a crazy story because a really good friend of mine, he was actually my drum major in high school. I was in band. And he had an opera show that night.
In Florida?
No, in New York City. And I was like, I'm going to drive to my friend's opera show, and I'm going to just kind of see what happens and tell him bye and like thank you for the show. And go wherever life takes you. And mind you, I have my 2 suitcases and my car, and my dog is in my car. And I have no idea where I'm going to go. And
Did you even watch any of that show?
What show?
I mean, I can only imagine the thoughts going through your head during that opera show. Not knowing.
Oh, I can't even tell you what it was about.
Yeah.
Like, at all. I remember, like, the hall, and there was a piano, there's people, but my brain the entire time was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
Where am I going? I have nowhere to go, but I guess I'm just going to get in the car after this and start driving south. But I remember texting a good friend of mine that I had met in Austin. Him and his boyfriend at the time lived in New York. And I had texted them, and I was like, hey, guys, I'm going to leave. And they're like, no, come out with us tonight. Come, like, don't leave yet. And then I texted another friend, and he was like, stay in my guest bedroom. And yeah, because if you live in New York City, meet a friend that has a guest bedroom. That's the best thing to do, because not everybody has a guest bedroom. And he's like, if you want to crash here for a couple of days, great. And I was like, okay, great, I will. I went and dropped my dog off, went out with my friends, and they were like, don't leave. Just like, give it a week. And a week turned into 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow, just imagine how different things would be if you would have just.
If I would have just
there and hit the
gone, I
road.
know. It would have been crazy. But again, even when I was going through that week, I was like, I'm just going to be here and hang with the friends and that be it. And then I'm done. But like, I just started being like, okay, I could be in this. I could do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster. New York will eat you up and spit you out. And
How many times has it done that to you?
oh, the amount of times I've cried on the street.
Yeah.
Oh, like so many times. And no one asks you, are you okay? It's like, get out of my way.
Wow.
Like no one will ask you. No one cares. I always joke about that is like, like me being a New Yorker now, it's like no one cares about you. You're on your own.
See, and that's so wild for us. I mean, for me, being from Fort Wayne,
Yeah.
other than the 2 years lived in Orlando, if someone was crying outside on the street, someone would be like, "Yo, are you okay? You
Totally.
doing good?"
You'd actually probably I'm from a small town. Like you'd call the police and say this person has a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, you gotta be cautious.
Totally. And so, yeah, that's where, for me at the time, I was just kind of like, let's just see what happens here in New York. And
as far as like the next steps in fitness, was there like a pivotal moment or a specific coach at a group fitness class that changed things?
yeah, like I've always been this person in like grade school growing up and everything I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I knew that fitness was something that I wanted to be a part of.
Even when you were young?
Even when I was young. Like, I played soccer, I ran track, I played football, like I did it all. And so I've always been active in that kind of way. And I've always got that from my mom. Like my mom's always like pushed me to be active in those ways. And so when being in New York, I knew I wanted to do something, but I wanted to do things a little bit different. I've never been this person being like, show up and get a, six-pack abs and show up and do this. Like I've just never been that person. And so my mom, she's retired now. She's retired like 2 years ago, but she was a special needs teacher. And I was like, how can I make a difference within like the special needs world within New York? And so after a couple of years passed, meeting different clients and meeting different people, I started working with that and building like fitness programs for people.
Did you mention
with special
Parkinson's?
needs. And Parkinson's as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I started working with the special needs side, there's this at the community center that I was working at. They work with NYU Medical, and so also working with NYU Medical to develop fitness programs for people with PD.
Wow.
And so from cycle classes to like water, like swim classes, like aerobic type things. And then also doing like private classes for people or going to people's homes.
And you did all that?
And I did all that.
Yeah.
So that was really a big part of my life for a while, of what I was doing in New York. And that was really kind of like my passion of what I was doing. But then also I'm teaching group fitness classes. I'm teaching...
Where were you teaching group fitness at?
Cycling classes at Equinox. I wasn't at 24 Hour. I had left 24 Hour at the time. But then I was just kind of like, other kind of really boutique brands started really like coming out and coming together. And so I was like, oh, okay, let me like figure like what this other side of this is as well. Because really like where I'm from in Texas, I mean, it's more now there's boutique brands, but back in 2011 and 12, that really wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people were starting to do it, but it wasn't really a thing. People were still going to like these big box.
Well, yeah, even
gyms.
for us in 2020, we were the first of our kind.
Yeah.
Really, here in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
And it took that long
Totally.
to get here. And I think a lot of people to the point earlier you said Zaxfit, a lot of people immediately associate cycle.
Totally.
For you, where a lot of people probably have no idea that like you have a deep passion for connecting humans.
Totally.
And helping people through movement.
Yeah.
So it goes far deeper than just cycle.
And that's so interesting because this is something that I've been trying to understand for myself and really put that other side out there again. Because yeah, people do see my name and they think cycle because that's really what I've done for so long. But I've done a lot of things really behind the scenes as well, because I'm not a huge person that advertises on social media about what I'm doing, what's happening, and I really should. But I just haven't. But I always say the people that know me knows kind of the things I've done and kind of navigate through there. But yeah, people know me just kind of from the cycle world, and it's more of like, no, like strength was literally my first thing that I did, and then racing in tries, and then working with people with PD, and then working with special needs, and yeah, and then managing teams and doing all of that. But I've never just really advertised it in a way, just kind of really let people know all of that.
Yeah, and that's probably... Do you find yourself in different settings tapping into all of those different life experiences, all those different things, whether you might not even realize it?
Yeah, a lot of what I speak about now, and if people, disagree with something I say, or if I say that something is just not working out, people don't understand. Like, I have this big thing when someone says, come to my space, come here, I or we are for everybody. That's probably one of the things in the fitness industry that drives me fucking crazy. Because you have to realize you're not for everybody.
Right.
Like,
right.
And I don't mean this for this space, but is this space really ADA,
Well, I mean, to the point that I was talking about earlier where the consultant had asked me if Pac and Biggie on the wall was risky for Fort Wayne, Indiana, which I understand what they're asking, but and I'm not saying it's to say we're not for everybody, but we want you to know what you're getting into from the moment you walk in the door. Like, you're gonna hear hip hop. Way more than you're gonna hear country. So like just know.
And then just know, like, for certain people, it won't be for everybody, and that's okay.
Right.
And I think what we really have to, and this is one thing that I always talk about as well, is these ways of, like, I don't know, if a brand has, what do you have here? You have like Lululemon and you have other things. It's like, Lululemon's not for everybody.
Right. Yeah,
not everybody can afford Lululemon. Yeah. There's who's catering to the
and we have
Target athleisure people.
We
who's
have
catering
Tavi,
to the,
and we have Fruit of the Loom.
Totally.
We have all kinds of different stuff.
And there's certain brands now that I speak about of, like, when I'm home in New York, that I really understand why certain brands are thriving, because you will walk into them and you'll see the people from Fruit of the Loom, and yes, I'm talking about the cotton shorts with the cotton tanks, that when you sweat, you can see every imprint on everything from somebody. I'm sure they're wearing that old school white jock strap that everybody wore at the YMCA.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Michelle's rocking the gray sweatpants.
Yeah, see? But what I mean by that is there's certain brands that will cater to those types of people, and the people that are wearing the highest brands, whether that be like a Lulu or whether that be Aloe or, whatever these other bigger athleisure brands are.
Yeah.
And so that's one aspect of, like, are you catering to everybody? And it goes back into this of me being very involved in a world with special needs, with Parkinson's disease. Those people need a certain type of programs for themselves. Yeah. And so when someone says, I'm for everybody, you have to stop saying that.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, I'm from everybody except for these types of people.
And then you're kind of pigeonholing yourself, and you're excluding people.
Exactly.
Which is the opposite of inclusion.
So I'm very curious, when someone says, or like when you say, I'm for everybody, what do you actually mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's just something, and I think just something as brands need to really think about. When you do say, I'm from everybody, what is actually in your mind going on when you say that? And I mean, and you being a business owner.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It just immediately made the marketing side of my brain come on, because as a marketer, like, that's one of the things that before you create some kind of marketing initiative, who are you targeting?
Totally.
And which, to that point, means it's not that you're excluding certain people, but you have to hone in. Otherwise, you're just shotgunning everything.
Totally. And then you're trying to reach everybody, and it's like, no, like, focus on the reach that you're trying.
Do you think a lot of brands similar to Triumph that are local grown are figuring out who they are?
Oh, that's one of the biggest things that I'm noticing on tour this year.
Yeah.
Is people are. That's been one of the biggest questions everybody's asking, like, what are you noticing this year? Like, and I've been saying in a way of, like, everybody has knowledge of some sort, whether you've been in this world for 3 months, whether you're just getting started, or you've been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
What I'm noticing is people don't really know how to really show up as themselves because they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And actually, to say that, I think deep down everyone knows who they are, but they just don't know how to show that. And so it's like, how do I express that version of myself? And so then there's all these filters that you want to add on to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, just like express yourself. And here's the thing. Your people will show up for you.
Yeah. Your tribe will find you.
Exactly.
And that's as you're saying that, it made me think of my own personal discovery.
Yeah.
We're all still on that.
Totally.
But I think one of the biggest things that helped me finally figure out who I was was learning who I'm not.
Totally.
And I think as a studio, as a brand, as a community, that's one of the things that we've constantly evolved in understanding that who we're not.
Totally.
Like, social media and all those, that we do it, we have it, but it's not our main focus.
Totally.
It's a component, and Liv does an incredible job. The whole team chips in on it, and it's amazing, but it's, at the end of the day, it's not as we're isolated in these rooms and having these moments and these experiences. And I think one of the biggest things that the whole team, I'm so proud of them because they're able to hold space and talk about mental health issues and talk about some of the shit that we're going through.
Totally.
And be confident in that.
Totally.
And be okay with it, which makes me proud because back in the P90X thing, I remember thinking, I'm doing push-ups and I got tears in my eyes and I'm all by myself in this room. And as a guy, made it almost even more, you don't talk about your feelings.
Totally.
Like, what in the hell is happening to me?
Totally.
But it was years of trauma coming out through physical movement allowed me to tap into that, which I think has been one of the coolest things that Triumph has become part of who we are.
Yeah.
And I don't think we meant that.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out over the last 5 years who we are.
Totally. And once you start figuring that out, again, you'll find those people.
Yeah.
You know, you'll find those people being like, okay, this is what that brand is. And it happens often. Like, I'll ask somebody, I'm like, okay, this is your brand. What do you stand for?
Yeah.
What's your mission?
Yeah.
It's like, to make people feel good or whatever, it's like.
Yeah, but it's got to go deeper than that.
100%.
It's like, elevator pitch.
Totally.
If you're in sales, what's your elevator pitch? And when people ask me like, well, what is Triumph? First and foremost, we're a community.
Yeah.
We transform lives through movement.
Totally.
Like, and to go deeper than that, it's like, man, we are that beacon of hope up on the hill.
Totally.
For like, if you're lost and broken, this might be your spot.
Totally. And I think what happens often too, though, it's almost going into a way of, I talk about this often as well, of if you go to your local coffee shops or you go to a local restaurant, or it doesn't have to be a local restaurant. Fuck, you can even just go to your local Olive Garden. Like, how do you explain to these people who you are as a brand? Because I can tell you now, most people don't understand the sense of community. Well, community within what we think community is.
Right.
Like, I'm sure, people have their community within, whether it be their churches or whether it be other types of things or wherever they're at. And so it's more of how are we sharing, how we're moving to people that don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things as well. And I only say this because I was recently, I was leading a workshop somewhere and somebody had mentioned a brand. And the person in the crowd was like, what? How do you not know what that brand is? How do you not know? And it was very interesting, and I had to stop that person being like, no, explain to them what it is.
Yeah.
And it was so hard for this person that works within this brand to explain to this other person what it was.
And they were the ones questioning, how could you not know?
Yeah.
When they themselves
were like,
were unclear.
Well, let me just back up and fully get on this person's level for a moment and explain to them what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's because more people, how do I phrase this? There's more people that don't know about you than you think.
Yes.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's like when you walk to the airport. Like, you don't know any of those bitches walking through.
Yeah, and they're all coming and going, and they all have lives, and and they're all the star of their own movie.
Totally.
And a lot of times I think we can forget that.
Totally. Yeah, and so I think that's what people need to think about within the fitness world locally is no one knows you.
Yeah.
And I just say that in a way of like, I travel, especially being here on tour. I go to these cities. Typically, I love to go to like local places.
Yeah.
People can tell clearly I'm not from wherever I'm at usually. And I'm just the person who will strike up a conversation with anybody.
Right.
And I'll ask people, do you, I'm here like doing this. And they're like, what's that? And so that's always that moment being like, huh.
Yeah, I saw you share with Amber on there where like you interviewed
we interviewed this person. And that always happens. People, literally guys, most people, I would say, I think I even posted about that, like 99% of the community when it comes in terms of like indoor cycling thinks it's
spin.
And if you don't, because a lot of people don't know what like the traditional spin of the younger crowd, like it's like if you were to go to a Crunch or a 24-hour fitness or some of these other traditional gym classes or recreation center.
Yeah.
That is most people's, I would say that's like 98% people's idea of what.
Where it's more of you're trying to hit a statistic or a metric.
It's like when you're doing a walkthrough through here. Do they understand when you explain it to them?
We work really hard to make sure that they
But when you're like
understand.
showing them the place, do they understand?
Not until they experience it.
Yeah.
They have to experience it.
Yeah, of course. It is. And because and I say this often too of like, we all had that first class. Maybe it was awful. It took me a few classes to really enjoy it. But
Well, I think the way our room and many other rooms similar are set up is you can explain it and you can think you understand,
Yeah.
but until all of your senses,
totally.
there's a feeling, there's a smell,
Totally.
there's a, like when those lights go dark and
Yeah.
that first beat drop hits and you feel it in your chest
Totally.
and you're like, oh shit.
And that's where it goes into a lot of people with local communities, and I will sign this with permanent marker, is too many people, I would actually say not too many people, I would say most people in the industry as a whole is trying to get new people into their spaces by social media ads. And let me tell you, that does not work. Like people seeing somebody doing like a fucking like backflip on a bike or doing anything complicated, I'll be like, next.
Right.
That's not going to get, because again, that didn't get any of these people that are in this industry. A video didn't sell us on it.
Right.
It was the experience
it was a feeling
that we had. Like you
Yes.
said, it was that first beat drop. And you were like, why did my entire body just vibrate?
Right. Why am I, for me, it's the realization that I was having alone in a room by myself.
Totally.
That fitness was healing me.
Totally.
I didn't realize it in the moment what was happening.
Totally.
But yeah, it's the whole thing. It's
the
the
whole
first time that a coach says something to 30 people, but you feel like they're only talking to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could they know that?
Yeah.
And then you feel connected.
Totally.
And you're like, oh shit, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not that. You said it in class this morning.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because I talk about a lot of, especially as people are trying to navigate themselves and who they are and maybe scared to share who they are. It's like I always talk about like real success comes from when you share your story. And once you share your story, that's when like weight is lifted off your shoulders and you're just like,
yeah.
I'm not alone. I have people. And to kind of move forward with that, I would say that is probably the main issue that is going on with so many fitness brands is diving deeper into what is going on. Because the amount of times that people are just like, my boss this, I hate this, I hate that. And then once we like dive deeper of the individual themselves, I'm like, you're bringing your outside energy of what's going at home. Maybe it's your partner, maybe it's whatever you have going on. Maybe
Yeah.
you got sick. You bring that energy into this space, and that's actually what's bothering you.
Right.
And so that's what I want so many people to do more of is just like, think about how you're showing up.
Yeah.
Think about what's going on and what is that energy that you're bringing into the spaces.
Right.
And again, this is something I often say. I'm like, I've never had an owner, and I'm on calls with owners all the time. I've never had an owner be like, how do I just utterly destroy my team?
Yeah.
How do I make it just hell for them? I've never had an owner like that.
Because none of us want that.
None of people want that. But the amount of times that I've had instructor calls and coaches calls or
Yeah.
being in person, the amount of times where they're just like, Zach, help me like build my own space. Help me do this.
Help me get away from them.
Help me get
and
away
do
from
my-
them, and like, can you like consult me building my own space?
And,
And I'm like, you need to deal with the shit that needs to be done first.
and is that what you mean, like, of the things that are outside of the studio that they're bringing into the
Yeah.
studio that make them feel separate from the owner rather
For sure.
than the unity
Yeah,
that has to happen for
Yeah.
a team to be a team?
totally.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't, a friend of mine, she took a PR position at a big brand in New York, fitness brand, and she came from fashion. And I'll never forget the text she sent me. And we were together a lot because I was like explaining to her about the fitness world. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, you all are here to like make people feel better. And I'll never forget the text she sent me. And she said, it's so funny how all of you are in the wellness space and no one's well. And when she sent me that text, because she was just working for this brand for about a month in, and it was so interesting. And I was like,
Wow.
You're so spot on.
Wow.
Because we are in this space to take care of others.
But
And by the way, and this happens a lot, yes, we're allowed to be human.
Right.
We're allowed to have bad days. We're allowed to have those moments. But we're also here to help other people go through their other things. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves first
right.
before we're
Which is an
launching it out.
it's an interesting place to be.
Totally. And RuPaul quoted the best. If you can't love yourself, how the hell do you expect someone else to love you?
Right.
So there's that.
And it's true. Well, and a lot of times, it's
Do you love yourself, Adrian? Okay, good.
We're the ones that are charging everyone
check the
else's
cameraman.
battery. But who's charging ours?
Totally.
Like you just said. How long has it been maybe since someone looked at Adrian and was like, yo, are you okay? Like, it might have been a minute.
He's doing great.
He is doing a great job. He always does a great job.
Yeah. Adrian,
Yeah,
we
you
love
can't see him, but he's doing a kick-ass job. He
Yeah.
always does. He's smiling.
He's smiling.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. A lot of times do you think part of that is, because I've said before, it's what we do is super emotional. Mm-hmm. We ask people to be vulnerable, which means we have to be vulnerable. But that can be combustible if it's not managed correctly.
Totally.
Starting with how we lead ourselves.
Totally.
I mean, I think to that point of if you're not understanding that you're bringing the things going on at home, the things going on with the relationship, the things going on with the kids.
Yeah.
Maybe you scuffed up your black shiny rim right before you got here. And you're just in a mood. But you come in and...
Is that what happened? Oh.
Well, one of the things on our code of conduct is we won't emotionally burden our members, because I think it can be easy for us to mean well in our messaging, but we have to deliver it in a way that doesn't burden someone, which is kind of like trauma dumping on them.
Yeah. And it does happen. Like, people will go into that. I was just talking about something recently where, this could be in a strength class, it could be in a cycle class, it could be in any type of class of, like, I was talking about some people when they pause their music or they stop for a moment. It could be in a cool down. It's like, think about the music that is being played when you're wanting to get into that moment, because you want that background noise to set the tone on how you're showing up.
Yeah.
Because what can happen is that kind of trauma dump can happen. And then it starts leading into that disconnect.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, I always joke, and people that know me for a long time, they always joke with this. Like, I don't like cats. I hate cats. But I'm okay if you're a cat person. But if you were in the class talking about cats, you're a cat boy? You have 3? Oh, yeah. Well, Adrian.
Brady, he doesn't hate cats. Brady,
no, and I don't mean it that way. I am highly allergic to them. But I just mean it in this way. But if you were in a class talking about it for a long time, it can lead to a disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had to have conversations before because someone will, like, lightheartedly say, I can't stand this artist.
Yeah.
Well, it might be somebody's favorite artist.
Totally.
Or that they played that artist at their parents' funeral.
Yeah.
Or something. Like,
you are giving cat vibes.
Yeah.
Literally, that is your vibe.
And I'm trying to stay quiet because Kelly, my wife, has a cat that she loves.
Okay, listen, to be clear, I don't hate cats. You never know what they're up to, and they make me nervous, and I'm actually allergic to them.
We have a little mini cat named Ziggy. It is the most fitting name ever, and it's into everything. And Kelly loves it so much.
Yeah.
Like, it brings joy to her heart, so I just have to shut up and deal with Ziggy. But he messes with everything.
I love it.
And that's why, like, we all have our things. But it's interesting how lighthearted joking about cats. But in this space, we have to be cautious of how we show up.
Totally.
And how we deliver a message.
And to go into that as well, and this is for people that are watching this, your business owner is not a fucking therapist. Is not a licensed therapist. And I think people need to understand that. So, a business owner can be there for you for certain things, but at the end of the day, if you come into a space and you're talking about your entire life, whether that be your family, your kids, or hell, like maybe it's deeper than that, you can't fully expect your owner to 100% show up for you for that, because at the end of the day, your owner has a business to run, and you still got shit to do and classes to teach. And I think that really needs to go out there in a way of like, yeah, an owner can show up for you, but we're not licensed therapists. Tyler's not a licensed therapist. Like, yeah, he can handle some shit. I can give you my number to my great therapist. She helps me through a lot. But I think just people on teams need to understand that of like, at the end of the day, we are humans, not licensed to fully help people through certain things. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've had some people tell me some wild shit, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. You got to stay.
And I was like, thank you for sharing that. But I don't know how to answer to that.
Well, you got to.
And then should I text you later to make sure you're going to be okay?
Right.
And so And I'm over here Googling, being
Well,
like,
and
if
then-
someone told you XYZ, what do I do with that? So I think to go into that part of that is like, yes, like share what you're possibly going through, but when you dump many things on owners, like they have still 20 people to manage, some people have 50, some people have over 100, and so you just have to understand in a way of, if you have any other job, name a job that's outside of this, you could do that. Like,
Not a lot.
there's not a lot.
Not a lot.
And so I just think there needs to be kind of like a moment where people are like, just know when to go to someone else to show up for it.
Do you think that part of that is because this industry and a lot of studios like ours and others, like they feel like family? So
Yeah.
So it makes it feel like you can just share everything.
Totally.
Which I want my team to trust me.
Yeah.
I want to trust my team, and I do.
Totally.
But do you think sometimes when it can become that, like, because we all care so much, but then this group tells that group, and then that group tells that group,
Yeah.
and then by the time it gets back, that first person's like, I came to you in confidence. Why'd you say anything?
But I also
And then-
think owners and people as a whole don't have one-on-ones. Only have team meetings. If someone side texts you, say, we'll talk about that in the meeting next week.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting you say that because we've really been working on that, and the team's doing a great job of, like, I have one-on-ones with the team, but also encouraging that, like, hey, we spend so much time together.
Yeah.
It's inevitable we're going to offend one another in a
Totally.
way, probably unintentionally.
Totally.
Like, let's build enough trust to
Totally.
where we can go and say, hey, you said this.
Totally.
I don't really care for how it made me feel. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
And then be done with it.
I think it's a much better way to operate and work, because even for myself, like whether it be a Zoom call or in person, I never do one-on-one things with like teams. It's always in a team setting.
Yeah.
Because I don't want someone to run and be like, oh, well, guess what this
So-and-so.
person told me?
Yeah.
Or guess what Zach said. I mean, that's with everything in my life. Like, people know I'm a very verbal person. And things that I tell all of you, listen, emails have been sent out, text has been sent. Like, if I'm talking about something, they actually know before I told everybody else. I'm just that type of person.
Yeah.
Shout out to my mom for making me that kind of way. But people know.
Right.
And people,
they know where
I'm
you
this
stand.
person of like, everyone knows where they sit and how they stand with me, because I am the person to let people know. I'm not afraid to press send on an email.
Yeah.
And people that know me know that.
Yeah.
Like,
Does it always work out well?
in what turn? Like, are people like getting upset about the emails?
Yeah.
Working out well, it's never usually like a fuck you, fuck off. It's very
Right.
much just kind of like either ignored or being like blocked.
I guess to take that a step further, I feel like by being who you are,
Yeah.
even if some people might get rubbed wrong, you skip a lot of steps
Oh, 100%.
that a lot of times, whether it's corporate world or whatever, like we can play this ping pong
Totally.
back and forth trying to get to the point where you just
Totally.
you
I
just say that
see,
shit.
listen, I can see so far through people's bullshit that I'm just very much like, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I've had people call me a witch. They're like, how'd you know that was happening? And it's just kind of like, that's what, good at what I do.
You ride a bike. and
You
it's-
know,
and you're a
like
witch.
literally. And I'm the first person to send the emails. So
Yeah. But
check
what
your junk mail.
I mean, what do you think is some of the best ways that the industry is moving forward currently? I mean, you get such a cool perspective. By the time you'll be at the end of this tour, I can only imagine the experiences and, like, what do you hope is one of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, I feel, you know, I've told this often about the reason why I wanted to do the first year of the tour. And I was really trying to figure out where that disconnect was between business owners, from their managers to their teams. And I was like, where's this disconnect happening? And that's why I was like, let me put myself out here in real life, in person, because, you know, most people, I would say, like, actually, I would say most consultants look through a screen to
Yeah.
give advice.
Right.
No one's actually showing up in person.
Right.
And I was like, I can look at a screen all day and give somebody advice.
Yeah.
But until like physically being in a space, it is so different.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think a lot of bigger brands have failed in that way, because they're just like, I'm just going to focus on virtual type trainings rather than actually in person.
Yeah, it's way different.
It's way different. And so that's really what happened after COVID. People keep blaming COVID. The issue is people aren't going back to kind of where we were before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And that's when people were successful. And so, what I mean by that is old school marketing. No new person likes to look at your fucking Instagram listening to you talk. I mean, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, you're not targeting new people.
Right.
And maybe if it's one or two.
You're delivering messages to your current followers.
Exactly. And so how are you going to talk to someone that has no idea? Because most people, again, are just going to switch. You know, if it's an advertisement, they'll be like, oh, what are they talking about next?
Yeah.
I talked about this the other day. Like, High Rocks is a huge thing right now. Like, how many times do people look at a High Rocks video and be like, oh, fuck, that's hard, next? Yeah. Like, good job, Susie, keep going. But like...
Right, but it doesn't inspire you to want to go do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe for some it has, because there's a lot of people, friends of friends have done it. But it's something that some people can look at a video and just be like, that's fucking hard.
Yeah.
And so what I'm noticing now is people are really... They've tried all the things they saw. They were like, let me jump on these trends. Let me jump on this train. Let me hire this person that has all these followers. Let me, get to the ads of like this, and that. And more than ever, I feel like the industry is getting back in a space where people are truly focusing on what is good for me, my team, and my local community.
Yeah.
And that is something that I'm noticing now this year that's happening very differently, that people are really wanting to focus towards that.
Even more so than last year's tour?
More so than last year.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing as well. Like, I've worked with every brand. I know a lot of people in this industry. And I'm the person that digs deeper. You ask me, who's the investor of this brand, or who's the investor? How did this get started? Or what's this? What apparel do they wear? Like, I have the answer. And that's where people aren't doing the deeper work. So it's like, you see an event or you see this kind of thing. Well, who's backing that?
Yeah.
You got to understand everything.
Right.
And
fully understand.
And it's not fully being like nosy, but if someone has a beautiful space and I don't know, their family are billionaires,
yeah.
Like they have that space and we're able to build it out because of XYZ. And that's just things to know.
Right.
So do you have billionaire parents that's going to build your space? No. Then
we got to figure out.
Yeah, your parents are school teachers. Great. You're not going to have a space built in the same way. So I just think that people just need to do better research about people rather than looking at this shiny thing. And that's what was happening so much before.
Yeah.
And so now people are, again, just in this space just being like, okay, I know what I know, and how do I now just incorporate that into my people, into my community?
Yeah. What is it that makes you care so much about brands like Triumph that made you want to just jump in a car and travel all over the country?
Yeah. People are struggling. People are trying to figure it out. People are just really in this space to just be like, how do I just get one foot in front of the other?
But was there something that happened along the way that made you be like, I got to be the one?
I'm a loud voice, and I don't care what other people think. And actually, starting the first tour, I was actually a little nervous about it because I was like, who is quote unquote my people?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, are people going to connect to that? And last year, when I had 38 people connect to that studios, I was like, oh, okay. And then this year, again, I'm like, okay. And this year it's even more studios. And so now I'm like, okay, like people see me and I'm seeing my people, and there's no one else that's going to speak up in the way that I speak up because I have nothing to lose. Like, I realize I have 45 brands now, more than that, but like with being on this tour, that got me.
Yeah.
That understand what I'm saying and moving forward with that.
Yeah, because they invited you back.
Yeah, because they invited me back. And so I know there's people, and there's a lot of people in this industry that are leaders that are scared to speak up in the way that I speak up because they're scared to lose their identity or whatever. You're not going to fucking lose anything. But it's just people just won't speak up in that kind of way. And so So yeah, I've always been that person. Again, it just goes back to me working with special needs and that kind of world.
That's what, yeah.
And so it's like,
it's amazing that you went back there.
yeah, because it's like, it was hard to get people like, hey, come help me out with this weekend. And it's like, people will be like, oh, like, I'm busy.
Somebody has to advocate for
Yeah.
the people that can't advocate for themselves.
Totally. And again, I've realized the more I use my voice, the more people that I'm connecting with, and the haters are still watching.
And a lot of times, people feel the same way that you do. They just, to your point, don't want to speak up and say it.
Oh, totally. Like, the amount of times people will write me and be like, I like what you're saying, but your tone's a little strong. I'm like, fuck off. This is my tone.
Yeah, yeah.
Chelsea Handler is somebody I'm very inspired by, so, yeah.
Yeah, because she just says it.
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck it. This is me.
Did you ever imagine, all the way back to the 18-year-old, that were you always this way? As far as very vocal and you're just like, this is who I am. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been someone that's kind of just like shown up and just been ready to just like, ready for anything. You know, ready to just figure out like, okay, this is a problem. I'm going to speak about it. Yeah. And I have always been that person. I've always been one. And that is something that I really do get from my mom, because my mom's always would be the one volunteering for Special Olympics. She'd always be there. She'd always go way out of her way to like just make sure people felt seen and heard. And that's really where I feel like I'm at now in that space.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like those moments they say like you don't want to be like your parents and you get older and you are like your parents.
Yeah.
I guess in this way it's a good thing.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's those impressions that are made when we're younger.
Totally.
We don't even realize, but that's what they're doing.
Totally.
They're putting their fingerprint on our future.
Totally. And that's more of really what I've been jumping more into now is, what is that version of you that we all know deep down, but how do you share that with other people? And that's just something that I've just been working with people of like, okay, let's break this down. You know, and that's the whole part of like, there's a lot of self to be done first.
Tons.
And then we can break through that, and then we can really shine on the other side.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, how can you help heal somebody else if you're not healed yourself?
Totally.
To your friend's point.
Totally.
And I think that's a big thing that social media can be, man, it can make us want to compare.
Totally.
I mean, like you and I have talked about before.
Totally.
We see these things happening on these bikes in these rooms, and we're like, oh, I should do that. Well, but maybe that's not you.
Totally. And I think as well, like, and I don't mean this in a mean way when I think about brands, but like when you look at social media, you literally see nothing. And I mean this in a way of like what they're having to do behind the scenes. You're not seeing what owners are have to deal with if they have to fire somebody. You're not seeing when maybe an instructor just full on freaks out on their boss or doesn't show up because they're sick. You know, you don't see that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I talk about so much of social media is literally fake, because you're not seeing the hard conversations.
Yeah.
And the hard conversations is what needs to be seen. And so there is this whole curated, oh, it's perfect, look at us.
Yeah.
When in reality,
right,
the conversations that I'm having with people, I'm like, damn, I thought everything was perfect.
Right.
But
because it appears,
again, I know it's not.
It appears
that way.
Right.
So it's more of like, I'm not saying that we need to be like trauma dumping on Instagram or social media.
No, but it's just more be authentic and real and raw.
Totally.
And I think that's what creates the biggest connection.
100%.
Because people realize like, oh man, their shit's just as effed up as mine.
Totally.
Look,
and that's where the real, like, that again, that goes back to like, that's where the real success starts.
Yeah. I mean, because like you said, you don't see all the different things that go into it. Did rent go up twice?
Yeah.
Did the landlord screw you over on this? Or did this not get done in the right way? Or what happens when a speaker goes down?
Totally.
And then you have to miss your kids.
And I think more as well, I think things like that. I saw something the other day. Somebody posted something. God, I can't remember what brand it was. I'm losing a blank. But they wrote this thing about having to raise their prices. And they shouldn't feel bad for that.
Yeah.
Like, they shouldn't feel bad for that at all. Like, you know, if you're offering something that's quality.
Right.
And so you shouldn't feel bad, and just explain to your people.
Well, and it's so
Because shit does break. A speaker blows out, or I don't know, someone drops a weight against a mirror.
Or yes,
that's
or
like,
the rent really does go up.
Or the rent does go up.
I just had this conversation the other day because like Netflix, when Kelly and I started Netflix, it was $7.99. Now
Yeah.
it's $27.99.
Oh my God, is it really?
But it's you don't cancel the service because they provide enough value to where obviously it's still worth it for us.
100%.
So like if you believe in your product and you know your product has value,
Totally.
and you know the value you're bringing to your community, I think it's only a big deal if we make it a big deal.
Totally. And what are you selling? Like we talked about earlier, like what does your brand stand for?
Yeah.
And so your people that have grown with you and know you, they'll be there for that.
And I think if you don't clearly know who you are and what your message is, that probably does make it harder to justify within your own mind to raise the prices.
100%. And most people people stop showing up because they recognize that you're not recognizing who you are.
Right.
So when people are like, no one's coming into the space, it's because
Well, yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Like if somebody walks in here after a long day, they deserve to be greeted with a smile and
Totally.
a friendly and a hey, it's great to see you again.
Totally.
Like we work really hard in the front desk staff, everybody, coaches,
Yeah.
everybody, learning everyone's name.
Yeah.
Because like that's such a important thing, whether you realize it or not. Like
For sure.
your name is something you carry with you everywhere.
For sure.
And it's who you are.
100%.
So like I see you.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times we'll have some wild spellings of some names, and I'm like, hey,
I'm
just gonna ask
worst.
you, how do I say your name?
I'm literally the worst when it comes to that. I've
been
on
there.
this tour, like, because I love to have the sheet in front of me and call people's names out during class, and the amount of names that I've completely fucked up.
I used to be in phone sales.
I saw this name the other day. Shout out to Michael, but his name looked not like Michael. It was like Mychel or something. I don't know. And I was like, how do you say that? And then he's like, it's Michael. And I was like, bitch, that is not Michael.
Yeah, like you ain't fooling nobody.
So
Yeah, it's so much easier to just ask.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my very first sales call when I worked at Sweetwater Sound. I looked at this name for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It had 3 X's, a Z. And I call, and I mean, my little hillbilly self was like, can I talk to Zixon?
yeah.
And the guy goes, yeah, this is Frank.
I don't think you're hillbilly, by the way.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
A lot of times people ask what part of the South I'm from, and I'm like,
Adrian, what are you laughing at?
South of Fort Wayne. Because he's like, he is too a hillbilly.
Listen, I'm from Texas originally, and Texas gives you hillbillies.
Yeah.
This is not-
That's authentic.
There you
For
go.
real.
So if you want to talk like that,
What's wild is I never thought I was. And then when I moved to Orlando, and the school I went to was called Full Sail, there were people from all over the country, and they were like, "Are you from Kentucky?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And then also when I worked in phone sales, I had clients all over the country.
Yeah.
And they all thought I was from the South. Except if they were from the South, then I thought I was from Michigan.
well, I can show you some hillbillies in Texas.
Hell yeah. Do you think there'll be another tour next year? Too early to say.
It's not too early. I want to say yes. I mean, I'm literally, this is my 15th stop or something. I still have a lot to go. No, this is really sparking me right now in my life on this journey. And I will say yes, because I think there's just a lot to be done. And I feel like doing one more after this will also be that next layer to kind of set everybody to that next space.
Because you've shared with me kind of some of the vision. Is that part of it as far as creating a connection for studio
I talk about
owners?
this a lot, and I'm I'm a very open book. There's a lot of platforms out there. There's a lot of software. There's a lot of consultants out there, but no one in my knowledge, and if someone is, reach out to me, really getting people together that are sharing these same modalities. And I just think I know, when you bring people together that are sharing the same ideas and doing the same things and being able to come together
Oh man, magic
in a real,
happens.
authentic way, magic happens. And that's more of what I want to bring together for people And I've tried to bring these things together to other people many of times, and it's just like, I don't know, people just don't always see my vision at the beginning. And then it's more of like, no, I have these people that are asking the same fucking question.
Yeah.
Why can't we bring them together? I don't want to, I don't want them to have to buy anything or add on anything. I just want them to be around people
like us.
Yeah.
Like ourselves.
that are fully in it.
Yeah.
And that goes into what I was telling you as well of like,
You think part of that is because sometimes as business owners or teams and communities, we can be scared. We're like, oh no, we don't want people to learn our sauce, our secret sauce.
yeah, and
Because
there are some people like that, but
majority, I would say, want to collaborate.
let me tell you, going back into this, we talk about the bike, bitch, you did not create the sauce.
Yeah.
Or any other thing else out there. You're just, no one's reinventing the wheel or the mat or everything.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's already been done. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I would love more collaboration. I remember that was one of the things Justin shared with me in the beginning because he came from the insurance world where other agency owners would talk and collaborate. And,
Yeah.
hey, how do you handle this situation? And then he said when he came to this industry, he quickly realized that it didn't feel the same
Totally.
at all. And
I think what happens though, it's like you just have to have somebody that other people trust in a way. And like for me, for instance, doing this tour,
you're the glue, man.
I'm like out of most of these studios, they've never had someone like me come in.
Right. We never had until
Yeah,
you came last year.
you guys have never had
We've never had
somebody-
an outside coach ever.
Ever, yeah. And most of these brands have been like that.
Yeah.
Most of the brands have never had an outside coach like that. And so the fact that owners are trusting me to do something like that, that's all that people want. Like the issue is people start off trusting people.
Yeah.
But they've been, beaten and thrown up against the wall and not in the way they like to be thrown up against the wall in the craziest ways possible.
Right.
And so they're like, I don't trust anybody. I don't want to share anything with anybody.
And that's where the disconnect happens.
Yes, and that's where the disconnect is happening. So that's kind of what I'm back in here doing, being like, no, there's good people out there. And I've had to realize that for my own self within my own work.
Yeah.
Because I've lost trust in a lot of people.
There's way more good than there is bad.
Yeah, but it's
you
sad
gotta
to say those couple of bad people can really fuck over what you think.
For sure.
And I was that person being like, everybody's a bad person, everybody, sucks, and no one wants to hear me what I'm saying. And I felt that way.
Yeah.
And now I'm just in that space. I'm like, no, like
Thank goodness you got to the place where you were like, you know what? I'm just going to bet on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet on myself. Because I remember from our very first phone call, I was like, man, that's
Yeah.
like you can just tell somebody's energy. Like, man, I could tell you cared about making Triumph as good as it can be.
Totally.
And that you wanted to come meet us.
Totally. And another thing too, I'm gonna look directly at the camera at this. Do you got this look? And I'm not even a huge influencer, and I'm not charging these bitches a lot of money like some of you are.
There, said it.
There's that part. Stop charging them a lot of money.
Yeah. No, you
Because they're local. Because and that was the other thing as well that actually I was getting fired up at is there's people in this industry that are asking for a lot of money to go to places.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain to you how much that just pisses me off in a way that these people that are asking for that money is rude and disrespectful because they were once local nobodies. And so going into a brand and asking somebody for that much money, and by the way, owners, you're just as stupid as these other people paying that amount of money.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, if you can't pay let's say somebody's asking for a $5 raise.
Yeah.
You're not going to pay someone $5, but you're going to pay someone else thousands of dollars to be at that space. It is rude. It is disrespectful.
Well, and that's the thing that your teams, they take notice.
Yeah.
They will notice like, oh man, I couldn't.
That's one thing that actually drives me so crazy. And that goes into this tour. I was like, how can I get people and sponsors to be a part of this so I don't have to charge these studios a lot of money? Because I care about the studios.
Yeah.
I care what happens when I walk out the door. And if someone's like, calls me up being like, we might have to close, like I will literally fucking jump hoops to help them figure it out.
Yeah.
And those are those ways of like, I care about these businesses.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've jumped on calls with me before with no expectation.
Totally.
Just to catch up.
Totally. Because again, I care about people, and it's like these moments of these way, it's like building those relationships.
Well, and that's the big thing where I see Triumph's future. And
Yeah.
I see you, like I mentioned, I see like you're a glue that is going to connect and help Triumph in ways that maybe I don't fully understand.
Totally.
But I believe in you.
Totally. No, thank you for that.
And I have to know that I believe in our team and I believe in this community and the messaging, and we can't do it all alone.
No.
We can't.
No.
So thank you for like all the way back to the servant heart
Yeah.
of being the advocate.
Totally.
Because I think from when I watch your stories and things, other business owners get it, which is why
100%.
they're inviting you back. And
100%.
And maybe, like you had said earlier, you're not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But for the ones that you are for, just keep advocating.
Totally.
Because it makes a difference.
And now I can really dive deeper more into that because, like, I just realized there's a whole list of people that's like, I hear you and I see you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And so now there is this whole list of people doing that. I'm just like, okay. And so for me now, I can quiet the noise of this other side because I was like, what if people don't understand me? Because those are things I was told.
Yeah.
You're going to be nothing without us. You're going to do this. You're going to like, you're not anything without this. And I believed that.
Yeah.
And so, that stuck in my head. And then I'm like,
What happened that made you realize that, like, I am who I need to be already? Everything I've already needed is inside.
this is a shout out to Ruby Freeman, who I read her book and it changed my life
Yeah.
reading her book.
Was there a specific part?
It's called Potent Leadership. It's this incredible book and it talks about
amazing.
today. Did you read it?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
After you told me about
Oh,
it. Yeah. It was
it's
great.
so good. And it was so wild because I was going through something and being like, it was the part of the moment of the noise of social media. Do I need to be hiring these brands or these things for an event? Do I need to be around these people? Do I need to be at these studios? And that book, and by the way, deep down in my heart, I was like, this is not it. And not it in a way of really to get local communities and people to build.
Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable.
Right.
Not sustainable. I'll say it 1,000 more times. But reading this book, I felt seen and heard of what I was going through.
Yeah.
And what changed it so much for me is I've talked about my ayahuasca journey that I've gone on, and Ruby is the one that was one of the facilitators.
Yeah,
and
she talks
I met
about her in the book.
Yeah, she talks about her doing ayahuasca in the book. And it was really incredible because after I read the book, I guess it was like 5 months later, I did ayahuasca. And I remember doing that. And then afterwards, she did so much changing within me. And I called her one day, and we had a Zoom call. And I told her, I was like, I'm planning some stuff in the fitness industry, like maybe some panel stuff, something. And I was like, I really want you to be a guest. And what stuck out to me, she said, Zach, you don't need me. You don't need these other people. She was like, you are the guest, and you will speak. And it just stuck out to me because there's so many other people that I felt like that I had to hire and bring on.
When it was you the whole time.
It was me the entire time. And so that was something that stuck out to me at Ruby, because at first I was like, but why won't you? No, like, you're incredible. But it was like, no. She's like, you do it. And I was like, okay. And so that really stuck out to me even what I'm doing now.
Was it because just the level that she believed in you?
She believed in me.
More than you believed in yourself
100%,
in that moment.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so that's where I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've actually never told Ruby this either. So, but it was one of those moments where I was just like, oh, okay, I got this. And so that's where it started flipping in this way, being like, I don't need to really, yes, I love talent. I love bringing amazing people on, but I want people that believe in me as much as I believe in them.
Yeah.
And let's make this co-thing together.
Yeah.
And that's more of where I wanted it to be about and where I'm moving forward with and what's happening. And I am being very strict now with where my energy goes. And
Well, I mean, and that kind of ties it back to, I mean, the fuel and the fire.
yeah,
Like that is the fuel that fires you and up
Totally.
and moves you forward and keeps you driving forward.
Totally.
And that, I mean, that's kind of what this podcast is all about. It's the mindset. It's the drive, that pull forward.
totally.
And betting on yourself.
Totally.
And sometimes you just need a good coach or a good friend, or for me it was Kelly,
Totally.
who sees a version of you that you don't yet see.
Totally. I actually, it's because I'm planning this owner's retreat this October, and as I'm like creating the panel, thank God for ChatGPT. I don't know what the fuck we did without it.
For real. Facts.
Like, I don't know what we did with that before ChatGPT. But ChatGPT knows me so well. Like, I can ask that bitch anything. And she's just like, you're being a cunt today. Love her. Why did I just say that word? I've been using that word so much lately, and I'm like, I never liked it, but maybe it's a word I need to use. Anyways, as I'm planning this owner's retreat and getting all of that together, I literally asked, should I be placed, this was yesterday, I was like, should I be placed on this panel? And that bitch came back to me and she said, 1,000% Zach, you need to be starting every day.
Yeah.
Why don't you see yourself in this?
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, yes, bitch, I do. Yeah, like, I do. And so that's where I'm realizing more of that for myself, because it does come from past things where there were other people telling me,
you should do
in
this.
order to succeed, you
Yeah.
need to do it this way.
Bullshit.
In order to do this, you need to do it this way.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to those people and to those voices, and now I'm realizing,
Same.
yeah, I'm on this literally, I'm on my second year of tour on my own.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's like,
We all need that person sometimes to just remind us what we already knew.
totally.
Like I've shared this before, like early on, we had to find our persona. Or that's what we were told as coaches. Figure out who your persona is. It's got to be different than who you really are.
Totally.
And I remember one day, just, long story short, I was just like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. Fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm just pissed off. I went in to teach boxing, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking party.
yeah,
Like, I've been a DJ since 7th grade,
Totally.
and I'm just going to party.
yeah,
And I did, and I remember Kristen came up to me. It was like a pivotal moment for me, and she was like, hey, I don't know what the hell that was, but that's it.
yeah,
Like, whatever that was.
Totally.
And I just remember being like, oh, you mean just be myself?
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
I can do that.
totally.
Yeah. And then,
No, I feel that. And I feel that even with myself now, it's like as I'm navigating this next chapter of my life and my work, it's more going into like, okay, I have the knowledge that I have, and now I'm ready to take people into that space and into that like next level of that. And so I've been asking myself, well, how do I want to do that? How do it goes more into, I've expressed the problems
yeah.
that happen within this industry. Now it's time to create an action item of it.
Hell yeah.
And so that's more of where I'm at now of,
And that's where the future of Zax's is going?
yeah, that's really my next chapter of that, of like, okay, I've been loud as fuck about all the things that are happening. And listen, I got all the receipts. I got the emails, I got the text messages. I can screenshots for days.
I got it all.
I'm the Wendy Williams of the fitness industry, bitch. Hot topics. But did you ever watch Wendy Williams?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Love that bitch. She needs to get back on TV because just talking tea and everything is my favorite. But now it just goes into the thing of like, okay, for 2 years or the last year and a half, I've been talking about the problems and the issues, and now it's time to take action of what that looks like.
Yeah. What's the solution, and how do we implement that?
The solution is really just tapping more into self and what drives you. And there's ways and methods in order to move forward with that.
Yeah.
And I've been doing them with teams here and there, but I just haven't really fully just full blast went on it. And now I'm like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was this moment of like, it just had to get to this like certain level of like, do people hear me? Do they see me? Who's my people?
Yeah.
And
Well,
now I'm recognizing
that they do.
they do.
And you recognizing who they are. And a lot of times, I mean, we start out at point A, we want to go to point C,
Totally.
and we think it means go from A to B to get to C. But
Yeah.
a lot of times, by the time you get to C, you get there in a way different way than what you first
For sure.
thought was going to be.
Yeah.
but that's what the fuel and the fire is all about. You just keep going. Like you just keep showing up for all of it.
100%.
So like to close out, if you could give 10-year ago Zax a piece of advice, what would it be?
10-year ago, Zach. You're a little shit, and owning a business is not the right thing to do, and you're not better than the CEO or the owner.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
If you could give some insights to 10 years from now, Zach, what would it be?
10 years from now. Listen, I'm trying to retire in 3 years by the time I'm 40, so
it's going to be a drink order on the beach.
I know. 10 years from now,
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to look back and say, you were the one?
Yeah, I really do feel like I said, I'm so inspired by Chelsea Handler lately. I just really feel like, and I think about this now and I process this now of like, what matters for my future? And at the end of the day, is all I want is just like good friends, good people to be on my farm with my Highland cows, my chickens.
There it is.
And I think about that now. I've been talking to so many people like, I want a barn. I want to be on a farm. And it's like those things of like, I'm processing more of what truly matters to me and what are those group of people that really matters.
Yeah. It's like figuring out who you're not so you can figure out who you are.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I've just realized like, I know who I'm not and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And now it's just time to move into who I truly am. And it goes into the part of like who I truly am. Now it goes like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, now it's time for me to sell that.
Yep.
It's like, okay, who is Zaxfit now?
Yeah.
And what is Zaxfit offering now for people to really fully authentically see themselves?
And it's definitely gonna change a lot of things for a lot of people.
It's just like,
in a
and I have to
positive
fully
way.
tap into that myself so I can really authentically lead it in that way.
Well, I mean, I think from where I'm setting and what I observe, part of this journey is you figuring that out.
Yeah.
Like it's clearing out all the noise.
Totally.
It's clearing out all the space, meeting all the people, showing up in their space.
Totally.
That's your authentic truth.
Because I'm getting to see firsthand, like I'm sitting with owners, I'm sitting with teams, I'm understanding firsthand what's happening. Yeah. And these are things that, these conversations, like, when we're not here, it's like those conversations, those are the important conversations that's going to make something better.
Yeah.
And it is very different what I'm doing and being able to connect with owners and have owners have me into their spaces. So I'm in a different space of that because I'm talking directly to the owners. It's not like I'm talking to a manager or the head coach.
That says, let me go talk to them.
Yeah, it's like I have the number of the owners and I'm like, hey, like this is my vision. And so that's what makes it very different with me and why I care. I'm not in the space to be like, let me talk to your head. I mean, yes, I love these head coaches of everything, but it's more of like, I want to know where the owners are, where their head spaces are.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would say. It starts at the top.
Right.
And it trickles down from there.
Yeah, because we have to be able to lead ourselves well to be able to lead our teams.
Totally.
And we got to trust each other.
And by the way, I will tell an owner too when they're being a little shit.
Yeah. I mean, we all need to hear what we need to hear. That's a fact.
Totally.
And that's the thing. We all got to be coachable.
Totally. 100%.
We have to be coachable.
100%.
And none of us know all of it. And
no.
To wrap this up, I commend you for advocating for all of us, for all the triumphs out there.
Yeah.
I mean, my vision has triumphs in other locations, in other cities, and I know it's being coachable.
Totally.
And reaching out and inviting people like you that do care into our space and our community.
Totally.
And so I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on.
Hell yeah.
And
I know you said you were nervous about doing a podcast. You just did the damn thing.
Here we are.
It's because Adrian.
I'm a natural. I thought about, just my inspirations.
Yeah.
And here we are.
You mentioned them a couple times. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
And we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.